Hello everyone, this is again Alan and welcome back to my watercolor channel. Today in this video, we are gonna be focusing and reviewing another watercolor set from India, and that is none other than the Brustro watercolor tube set. I bought my Brustro watercolor set in India in 2022 when I was there for work, and back then it was 897 Indian rupees or 11 US dollars or roughly 600 Philippine pesos. And by the way, this is a 24 color set, 12 ml each, and that makes each tube cost only 50 cents. And also upon checking the website, the price is still the same up until today, January 2023. I first saw this product at Sophia's channel. Sophia is one of those Indian artists that I watch, as her content are of great quality and she also speaks in English. And so when I saw this in Chandigarh when I was there, I immediately grabbed it. This product is imported by Creative Hands, a company based in Kolkata, India, but the product itself is made in China. Brustro also launched recently a half-pan set that are made in Korea. And I have a very strong feeling that it is a rebranded set of Mongyo watercolors. But back to our Brustro watercolor set in tubes. So let's first check out the box. It's still, wrapped in plastic. So this is really quite new. I waited months before I opened this for you guys. So the box is so-so, but the design is nice. It's simple. And you have a window here, so you see some of the tubes inside. And of course, in front, you'll see here Brustro Artist's Watercolor, 24 shades, 24 by 12 ml. And here is the company, Creative Hands, where art blossoms. And at the back, we have here an introduction to the brand. And also, what's very useful is that they also showed here a preview of the colors, a swatch set of the colors. And also, they've indicated here the pigment codes, the light fastness rating, and also the transparency rating. So at the lower part, we have here the company information, the website, and we have here the logo of ASTM. Now let's check out our tubes inside. So the tubes are placed in plastic trays, but these are also flimsy so plastic trays, but that's fine. And I also checked the arrangement of colors from this swatch, and I compared it here, and this arrangement is not based on the sequence here, so I need to rearrange this according to my preference. I'm gonna be following the spectrum. So now let's check out an individual tube. The tubes are made out of aluminum. It has a plastic cap, and in front you have here, of course, the color name. We also have here the light fastness rating, the transparency rating, and the pigment code. So this is PV19. The brand name, Brustro. It says here, Artist's Watercolors 12 ml, and at the back it says here, pure and vibrant colors, excellent coverage, great mixing properties, smooth consistency. And the website. So this is a 12 ml tube. Now let's compare it against the other tube sizes from the other brands that we have. Firstly, let's compare it with the Camlin 21 ml, another Indian brand. We also have here Old Holland's 18 ml. Then we have a 15 ml from Mgram, a 14 ml from Winsor & Newton. Now we have 12 ml, same as Brustro, from My Marie, a 10 ml from Van Gogh, and a 5 ml from Core. I really like the color of the tubes, which is black, and it makes you see the color of each tube immediately. And now for our swatches and sample painting, I'm using, as always, Arches 185 cold press cotton paper. And for my brushes, I'm using my Nevskaya Palitra Kolinsky brushes. And so to make our swatching faster, I'm going to be dotting down our paints. So we're done dotting down our paints, and I'm happy to share that I did not encounter any binder pigment separation issue. The tubes did not explode or whatever, so I'm happy with that. Now let's start swatching. The first color is Titanium White using PW6. So we are expecting this to be opaque. Then we have here Lemon Yellow using PY3. And this is the Vibrant Cool Yellow in this set. Next color is Cadmium Yellow Pale Hue using PY1. Pigment Yellow 1 is not a very light fast pigment. It is rated 4 by ASTM and rated 3 by handprint.com. So be careful in using this color. Next is Gamboge using also PY1 and PO13. Pigment Orange 13 is also not very light fast. It's rated, I think, fair, so also a warning upon using this color. Next is Cadmium Orange Hue or PO13. So this is not light fast, also not very fugitive, but also not light fast. It's rated 3, I think, but it's a nice orange. It's very saturated. I adjusted the light because it's glaring. Anyway, the next color is Vermilion using PR21 and PO13 again. PO13 not so light fast, and again PR21. This is Naphthaled Bright Red, and it's also not very light fast, also rated 3 if I remember correctly. So our 4 colors here are all vibrant and nice, but they're not very light fast, so be careful in using them. Next is Scarlet, also using PR21, Naphthaled Bright Red, and yes, this is really bright, vibrant red, but not super light fast. Next color is Crimson, using again PR21 with PR13. PR13 is quite new to me, but according to my research, this is a light fast pigment and it's called Toluidine Maroon. And I'm loving this color, and also it has, I think, character. Next is Rose Madder Lake using PV19, and I'm happy to see a quinacridone color or pigment in this affordable watercolor set, and this will easily serve as your cool red in this set. Next is Purple, which is a mix of PW6 and PV23. I am almost not sensing the presence of PW6 here, which is good. And I must say, most of our colors are on the transparent side, and they're all doing great when it comes to vibrancy. Next color is Violet using PV23. So this Violet is just a deeper sister of the purple here. This is like their Dioxazine Violet. And also all the remaining colors from Rose Madder Lake down to black, all of them are light fast already, so that's good. Now we have here Ultramarine using, of course, PB29. So this is a genuine ultramarine, and I can sense already the granulation. Next we have here Cobalt Blue Hue using a mixture of PB29 and PW6. So this is an imitation of the actual Cobalt Blue, and I think they did a better job at imitating Cobalt Blue as compared to Camlin. Now we have here Russian Blue using PB15 and PW6, and this is really quite weird because Russian Blue uses PB27 and PB27 is not an expensive pigment. Why did they not use it for this color, for Russian Blue? It's the appropriate pigment. Maybe it's not available in the area, or it's not cheap in that area. I don't know. I actually prefer PB15 over PB27. That's my personal take, but I just don't like it to be called Prussian Blue when it's not using the Prussian Blue pigment. Next is Cerulean Blue using PW6 and PB15. So this is again imitation because the genuine cerulean is PB36 or PB35. Now here in this color, I can sense the presence of PW6 because this is opaque. Next is Phthalo Green using PG7. PG7 is Phthalo Green Blue shade, and yeah, they spelled this way, so I just copied it. Next is Deep Green using again PG7 and PB15. So this is gonna be cooler as compared to Phthalo Green because this has PB15. I know I should have placed it closer to the blues, but yeah, that's me as an OC guy apologizing. Now we have here light green using again PG7 and PY3. Now we have here sap green using PG7 again and PY1. And this is not a bad sap green version at all. Now we have here yellow ochre, of course using PY42. Next is burnt sienna using PR101. I personally prefer my earth colors to use PBR7 than PR101 unless it's, Indian red or Venetian red. But this looks fine, I think. Burnt umber is made out of PBR6 and PY42. Again, a combination of two pigments for earth colors. It's not common, and I prefer, again, as I've said earlier, that they use PBR7, but PBR6 is not a bad pigment at all. I also love that pigment, but since they mixed PY42, it made this earth color to be semi-opaque. And now for the raw umber, they used a combination of PBR6 and PBK11. I agree, this really looks like raw umber, so they're good at achieving the hues, right? And lastly, we have here black using PBK11, and this one's just really strong, like a jet black. Now, while we are waiting for our swatches to dry, let's now go to our sample painting. The colors that I've chosen for this painting are lemon yellow, crimson, ultramarine, sap green, and burnt sienna. So, let's begin. Now let me give you my honest review of the Brustro Artists Watercolor set. Let's begin with the color selection. I think the set is gonna work because we have here split primaries, but also we have, I think, too many greens here. We have 3 cool greens. I think 1 is enough, and instead of these 2 greens, I think it's better to have a warm green, olive green in particular, or a dark green. And also to replace one of these color, I think it's good to have a reddish earth color, say Indian red or a Venetian red. Also, these 2 warm yellows are kind of the same, so I think it's better to have the other one be more warm or more orangey. Also, the 2 violets are almost the same, so I think it's better to have the other one be completely different, say as a lavender or wisteria or an orchid violet, for it to be more exciting. Now for the saturation and vibrancy, that's the part where I am truly satisfied and surprised. For the price, I think these are truly great for the vibrancy. Now for the transparency, it's mixed. Some are opaque, some are semi-opaque, some are transparent. I think half of them are semi-opaque, and that is fine with me. Now for the movement, no, they don't move that well, but that's fine with me because personally I like handling my paints. For the mixability, for me they're fine. I have mixed lots of colors using only 5 colors, and this is my palette. You see, this is my battleground earlier, and also I've noticed that they dry really matte, and I actually prefer that. Now I also have to note that there is a certain texture to these paints. I'm not sure if it's granulation, but if you look closely to the vermilion, you'll see it has this distinct texture there. Ultramarine has a very soft granulation, And also Tailu green has this texture similar to other, you know, Asian brands. Also the cerulean blue for some reason has texture, and that texture is not common to PB15, so I think that is also noteworthy. I can say that 3 of the pigments used in this set are not very light fast, so if you're using them in light washes, it has tendency that these colors will fade in time. And they are the PY1, PO13, and PR21. So if you are using these for paintings to be displayed in frames or for paintings to be sold, please be careful. You may want to perform your own light fastness test to be sure. Now, having these not so light fast pigments in this set brings me to thinking, are these professional grade paints? You know, even Daniel Smith has fugitive colors like, you know, the alizarin crimson PR83. But most of its pigments, majority of the colors are excellent or very good in light fastness. And we don't usually see in their smaller sets these fugitive pigments. They usually assign the best pigments in their sets. But here we have 3, and they're not just in 3 colors, they're all in mixes in multiple colors. So that's, I think, a warning. And you know, despite me being very critical and technical about the pigment selection, I still honestly can say that I enjoyed the vibrancy and the price of these paints. I really enjoyed using them, and I'm happy with my sample painting output. And also, to see if the paints really adhere well on the paper, let's see if it's gonna smudge, and let's see if we are gonna get traces in our napkin. Usually this is a sign of chalkiness. So surprisingly, we did not get any traces and marks and smudges in our paper. So I think they're not chalky and they adhere really well on paper. Now we have come to our favorite part, which is the comparison portion, and for this, let's start with the set of paints that are less performing as compared to the Brustro Artists Watercolors. Let's begin with the Best Buy Watercolors, the Dong A Creative, the Simbalayon Watercolors, the Faber-Castell Solid Watercolors, the Sterling Arts Watercolors, the Reeves Watercolors, the Giorgione Watercolor Cakes, the Sakura Koi Pocket-Filled Sketchbox, the Maggie Wap Basics Watercolors, the Montmartre Two Seasons Watercolors, Art Ranger, Berkeley Watercolors, the Pentel Watercolors Fine, the Prang Watercolors 2007 and 2019, the Mary's Watercolors, the Mary's Watercolors in tubes, the Faber-Castell tubes, the Pebeo Studio Watercolors, the Lefranc and Bourgeois Louvre Watercolors, the Koh-i-Noor and Nilinki, but these are really bright colors, the Pretty Excellent Watercolors, yes, the Owen Watercolor Metal Case, the Owen Watercolor Cakes, the Kuretake Gansai Tambi, the Semi Art Semi-Dry Watercolors, the Superior Watercolor, the Semi Art Arts Arch Watercolors, the Semi Art Solid Watercolors, the Superior Fan Palette, the Superior Foldable Palette, the Miyahime Solid Watercolors, and the Pelikan Transparent Watercolors. Now our next set are a mix of student grade paints and professional grade paints that are, I think, comparable to Brustro Artist Watercolors. We have here the Van Gogh, but still I prefer Van Gogh. We also have Sonnet. Sonnet is more transparent, so I'm choosing it. We also have Winsor & Newton Cotman. I think this is a draw, or still I can choose Winsor & Newton, they're more transparent. Grumbacher Academy, I think this is a draw. Winsor & Newton China, I'm not sure, I think I can give this a draw, but I prefer the transparency of Winsor & Newton China. We have Wichitrong Watercolors by Silpacorn. I love the ultramarine and burnt sienna. I'm choosing Wichitrong. Now we have Lucas Aquarelle 1862. These are more vibrant, the Brustro, but the pigments of Lucas are more reliable. Now we have the Espanoleto Aquarela. I think I'm choosing Brustro. We also have the Kokuyu Camlin Camel Watercolors. Also an Indian brand. I prefer the vibrancy of Kukuyu Kamlin. They're also more transparent, but I prefer the imitation of cobalt blue hue of Brustro Artists Watercolors. Now we have here Mongyo Professional Watercolors. I think when it comes to vibrancy, they're very comparable. Pigment selection, both not so good. But I think for the price, I'd go with Brustro. But for transparency, I think Mongyo is a step better. So now for the Prima Marketing Tropicals, also not very good pigment selection, but Prima Marketing is more transparent. I'm not sure, maybe a draw, or maybe I'd go with Brustro if you are thinking about the price. Now our final set are the professional grade paints that are, I think, better performing as compared to the Brustro Artists Watercolors. Let's begin with the Isaro Extra Fine Watercolors, the Paul Rubens Floral Set in tubes, the Paul Rubens Watercolors in pans, the Utrecht Artists Watercolors, the Blocks Extra Fine Watercolors, the Core Watercolors, the Rembrandt Luxury Pocket Box, the A. Gallo Honey Watercolors. We also have the White Nights tubes, the Winsor Newton Professional, Holbein Botanical. Of course, we also have the Micello Pure Pigment Set, the Schmink Cahoradam Watercolors, and the Daniel Smith Watercolors. Now, if you are gonna ask me would I recommend the Brustro Artists Watercolors, my answer is yes, but it depends. I think this set is going to be good for beginners, for those who are still exploring the medium, and for those artists who are going to scan their work, or for those artists who are going to paint in sketchpad and sketchbooks. They don't need the most light, fast paints, so this set is going to work. Now, if you are an artist who's going to display the painting, or if you're going to sell your painting, I would suggest you to be very careful in using this. If you want to use this really, you have to avoid, I think, PY1, P013, and PR21. You may also do your own light fastness test if you want, or you may just choose to use for the primaries the PY3 and the PV19. You may also use the crimson, I think, and the rest of the colors are okay. If you really cannot avoid using these three not so light fast pigments, I would suggest you to use it thickly, or just in mass tone. Avoid light washes, because if you use them in light washes, they're really more prone to fading. But again, having that said, I honestly really enjoyed using these paints. I did not expect them to be this good, to be this vibrant. Imagine the vibrancy is comparable to some of the professional grade paints that I have. This is a really not bad set for beginners, I must say. And for my co-artists here in the Philippines who would like to try these paints out, I will be making some hand-poured half-pan sets of this set and make them available at my Shopee store. I'll be putting all the useful links and websites at the description box should you be interested. So, I think we're done. That's all for the Brustro Artists Watercolor review. If you have any questions, suggestions, recommendations, please just don't hesitate to comment it at the comment box. I'll be responding as soon as I can, and I'll be uploading more these coming weeks, so please stay tuned for that. And also, I'm inviting you to watch my 2022 travel sketch series. If you have not seen it yet, please check it out. I've created a playlist of that. Again, this has been Alan, and thank you for watching. See you on the next video. Bye-bye!